And good morning, good timers, and welcome to another Good Times Productions vlog. And this is going to be another one of those local ones. Today we are going to be going to the state capital of Augusta and showing you around some of the more historical sites of the capital. So first thing we got to do, guys, here is clean off the car. This is always a fun experience. It's even better when it's snowing outside. The car's been running now for about 20 minutes, so we can thaw it out a little bit, but this is commonplace most mornings here in Maine. Late October, early November through usually April or so. So get everything off the car here so you can actually see what you're doing when you're driving. And then we will be off. Should have Pickles out here to do this for me, but she's inside gathering up her mittens and her hand warmers and everything else that she needs to gather up. All right, so that's about it, guys, and we are off. Okay, good timers, we've arrived at the iconic A1 Diner in Gardner, Maine, where we're gonna have a little bit of breakfast here. And it's a very iconic spot. It's been here for at least over a century, actually, under a few different managers. But it's always been on this spot right here on the Gardner Bridge, right beside the Kennebec River. The bridge was actually replaced about a year ago when they closed the diner down for a couple of months while they replaced the bridge. But the diner never moved, and it is an old-fashioned diner cart here. And it's pretty much been unchanged since its inception. So we're gonna go ahead and try this out.
Breakfast, a perfectly acceptable breakfast.
Yeah, I don't know. That looks like dessert, not breakfast, but thank you. It looks great.
You're welcome. I've got plenty more stuff too. Do you need salt and pepper for?
Salt and pepper, sure, yep.
How about hot sauce, ketchup?
I'm all set with the hot sauce and ketchup.
Do you need any jam for your biscuit?
Nah.
All right.
All right. Thank
Enjoy.
you.
Thanks. You're welcome.
All right, guys. So as you can see, Pickles went for, I guess this is breakfast, although it looks like dessert to me.
It's apple pie.
It is apple pie French toast, and it's literally got apple pie filling dumped on top of the French toast, with a side of ice cream, because ice cream is always good for dessert.
For breakfast.
Yeah, for breakfast, right? That's what I meant. Dessert breakfast.
Tastes like apple pie.
Tastes like apple pie with French toast. Go figure. Looks excellent though.
Ginormous.
It is ginormous. I'm gonna definitely have some of that for you. And guys, I had to go traditional, of course. We've got grilled homemade muffins here, and then we've got some corned beef hash with an egg on top. This corned beef hash seems to be pretty heavy in potatoes, guys. But definitely tell it's homemade. That's real potatoes in there and some onions. So we'll give this a try here in just a second as well. Looks nice and crispy too, just the way it's supposed to be. All right, guys, hash by itself first. So, hash by itself first. I'm up here.
I was gonna pan in close
right.
to the steamy food.
Very good.
I can smell the onions.
Needs a little bit more corned beef, to be honest with you, but it's very good though. Nice and crunchy. Very oniony, yes. Simone will like it because it's got lots of onions in there. Yep, very good. All right, guys, so real quickly here, I wanted to show you the underside of the A1 Diner. This is actually an old dining railway car. It was purchased in 1946, I believe it was, from the Worcester Railway Company, and they put it on stilts here. These stilts worked really well, especially during the flood of 1987, when the waters came all the way up to the very bottom of this railway car, and yet it stayed in place. So, well mounted, I suppose you will say, and it's been here forever. Okay, good timers, we've made our way over to Maine's capital city of Augusta. So guys, Augusta, Maine became the state capital in 1831. Got my phone right here. And so officially the state capital in 1831. It is actually the third smallest capital in the United States, the third least populated, behind Montpelier, Vermont, and South Dakota, I think it is. So one of actually Maine's larger cities, but comparatively speaking, it's pretty small for a capital. And back in the mid or early 1800s, I should say, the green behind me, which is nice and white right now, but the green behind me was actually an encampment for lots of Civil War troops. So that's what that was used for. And originally, cold over there, Simone. Originally, Augusta was inhabited by Indians, and it was called Cushnock. So that is the Indian name for the city of Augusta, and you'll see a lot of references to Cushnock here in the city, including Cushnock pizza, which we've eaten at before, and I think may have been in a couple of our other vlogs, I'm not sure. What? Native Americans, sure, whatever. All right, people that were here long before us. All right, so it's cold out here, so we're gonna get back in the car and travel along. We're looking for a artillery place here in a little bit, and we'll tell you about that if we find it. Also, we're gonna head over to Fort Western, which is important for the Revolutionary War. We'll tell you about that when we get there. Okay, so we have made our way over to the Kennebec Arsenal now. The original building, there's 8 of them actually right now. The original building was built in 1812, or after the War of 1812, I should say. And then it was expanded upon a few years later when America started getting into a little bit of a argument, we'll say, with Canada, and we thought the Canadians were going to attack us. So we started building up our artillery and our troops here on the Kennebec River right here in Augusta. So that's what these buildings were originally used for way back in the 1800s. Later on, about 100 years later or so, the Augusta Mental Health Institute actually moved some of the patients into these buildings and housed them here as well. That lasted for, I don't know, probably 50 or 60 years again, before they started moving the patients out of these areas. It was designated a National Historical Landmark in the year 2000, I believe, and has stayed that way ever since. You cannot go into these buildings. It is private property. Not sure who owns it currently. Probably the Augusta Mental Health Institute still, I guess.
From North Carolina.
Okay. Well, Pickles is telling me that somebody from North Carolina actually owns it now. I'm not sure what the hell they're doing with it, but apparently not much. But anyway, the buildings are still standing all the way from the early 1800s. And like I said, there's actually 8 of them. You can see 5 of them right now. I'm actually not sure where the other 3 are hiding. But there you go, guys. Right across the river, you can also see the Capitol building there in the distance. All right, guys, we are here still in Augusta at Fort Western. Fort Western was built in 1754, according to the sign that I'm looking at right now. And it is important for a number of reasons, but most notable is that Benedict Arnold stationed his troops here on his way to Quebec. Once again, those damn Canadians. We were really worried about those Canadians. So back in the Revolutionary War, Benedict Arnold was tasked to do a campaign and attack Quebec. So he brought his artillery and his troops right here at Fort Western. And from Fort Western, they actually staged out of Fort Western and traveled up to Kennebec to Fort Halifax in Winslow, Maine, which is pretty much where we're from, in that area. So this was a staging area, and then they boated up the Kennebec a little bit further before they went on to Quebec. Another quick tidbit here about Fort Western, guys, is that it never actually saw any military action, which actually holds true for a lot of the forts here in the state of Maine. We always thought we were going to be attacked by the British or by the Canadians and things like that, but for the most part, Maine stayed pretty well peaceful during both the Civil War and the Revolutionary War. So troops were never seen again after the 1800s here at Fort Western, and even when they were here, it was just to house them, but there was never any actual battles here at Fort Western. All right, guys, so what we are looking at now is the old Augusta Post Office, and it's nicknamed the Augusta Castle. It is on the National Historical Register as well from 1974. So it is built in a Roman style, which is one of the few buildings in Augusta that's actually built in a Roman style. All right, guys, so we've come to the front side of the old post office slash Augusta Castle, as they like to call it around here. Old courthouse as well, yes. Right now it's just a office complex for a bunch of doctors probably. But yeah, a lot of history here in this building. Cool Roman architecture as well. And we are on the lookout for a site of a bank robbery that happened on New Year's Eve about 100 or so years ago at one of these other buildings down here, which we'll hopefully find here shortly because it's kind of chilly out here today. Yes. But this is downtown Water Street in Augusta, probably the most famous and oldest street here in Augusta. All kinds of exciting stuff has happened here over the years. Much of what we're not going to tell you about today because, like I said, it's cold. So we are looking for the corner of Water Street and Oak Street, which is where this bank robbery occurred. So far. Okay, guys, so we found the intersection of Oak Street and Water Street. So it was these buildings right here used to be a bank where the great bank robbery occurred.
1850.
In 1850, Simone tells me.
Weekend of New Year's.
It was the weekend of New Year's.
And they burrowed their way in and stole $29,500.
And they stole $29,500, which back in the day, guys, would have paid for a nice mansion somewhere in the Hamptons, I'm sure. So, yeah, these days that wouldn't be that much. I mean, I could use that, but back in those days it was like stealing $1 million, I bet. All right, we are now on Canal Street here in Augusta and at Mill Street Park. Mill Street Park was actually built just a few years ago for the city of Augusta. It's got a nice little walkway right along the river bend, but this street itself is famous because there used to be the Kennebec River Dam used to be located here. You can see some of the remains of the dam here in a few minutes as we take a little walk. But this used to be one of the buildings that helped control the dam. So cool sign here, guys, that shows you what the street that we're currently on, Canal Street, used to look like way back in the mid 1800s. And if you can see in the distance, you actually have the remains of the dam. I'll try to get you a little bit closer view of that here in just a minute. But yeah, there used to be houses and construction and all kinds of good stuff along this small little street right here. So across the frozen tundra of the river here, you see what remains of the old dam. And the dam actually hasn't been gone that long. It got destroyed twice, actually. Got destroyed in 1987 with the large flood of 87. And then again, it got finished off in 1989 when a large fire happened. So that's what happened to the dam that used to be right in this very location. Since then, the city of Augusta has done a good job turning it into a dog park, actually. And you can see Sparky and Fido over there fighting along. But yeah, nice little park down here now, but used to be a working dam that used to control the Kennebec River until the Kennebec River took control, we'll say. Alright guys, so we are still here in Augusta, but not too much more to look at today. There's actually quite a bit of history here in the town of Augusta, but we only hit upon just a small amount of it here this afternoon. Hope you guys found it pretty interesting. We might do this again in the summertime when it's a lot warmer, we'll say. Right now, behind me actually is the Waterfront Park in Augusta, and they have lots of cool concerts here in the summertime. So if you're in the area, it's a fun thing to do for an afternoon, just to kind of hang out along the waterfront and listen to the musicians. A little bit of ice skating here in the wintertime, obviously behind me. Right now they have a sign here that says stay off the ice, so they must be working on it a little bit. But yeah, Augusta's a fun little town, and once again the state capital of Maine, so lots of historical stuff, some museums in the area that you can visit as well. Hopefully you guys had a good time today with a little bit of information on the history of Maine and the history of the Augusta area. So we will see you guys all shortly, and until next time, have a good time.